we're going to review Wolverine number 42, considered to be, or at least purported to be, the most violent, bloody comic book featuring Wolverine ever. The second part of Sabretooth War, Ben Percy, Victor LaValle, Corey Smith on art, although there is another artist, Jeff Shaw, that's also going to be working on this series. And I'm going to be honest, Doc, I still don't like that there's so many Sabertooths, but I kind of like the book.
Look, the book wasn't bad, but it was so fucking cliche. It is the exact same thing that every Marvel movie and every Marvel comic has been doing for the last couple of years. Throw a giant army of faceless, cannon fodder at the hero.
I don't understand why there would be a Captain America version of Sabretooth, and there's all these different variants. Very, very passé, very cliche. I got you there. It would be better if he just went out there and found, like, I don't know, an army in another multiverse and brought him back. He does have a gripe. He does have a grievance. The weird thing is, Wolverine had nothing to do with that. In fact, X-Force really had nothing to do with that. That was the Quiet Council. But, Sabretooth hates Wolverine, so I guess I'll take it.
No connection to Wolverine, no connection to X-Force in the decision to put Sabretooth in the pit. But this, all it seems to be is let's kill X-Force and all the people that X-Force is sorta protecting in a greenhouse in Antarctica for reasons that they don't entirely explain, except for to make Wolverine feel bad.
Now let's get into the book itself and get some of these details. The thing that really does stand out to me is the Corey Smith art. If you want to make the most violent, bloody Marvel comic Wolverine story of all time, I think he's a fine choice. Lots of gruesome details in this comic book, lots of grotesque faces and all that kind of stuff. And it really fits there. And it does make you feel a little queasy here and there. If you haven't read this, at the very end of the last issue, Sabretooth had cut up Akihiro, one of Wolverine's sons, and basically spelled out happy birthday with him. And now they decided to string him up with some adamantium tentacles so we can hear what they're going to do to his entire family. And I don't know, it just kind of fit the book. I think it's a really good choice. And I think Jeff Shaw is going to do great too, to be honest.
Corey Smith is a perfectly fine artist. I didn't really find anything offensive about the art in this. It was competent. It wasn't it wasn't super dynamic, but it also wasn't a bunch of bullshit static flat angle pages either. So I will give him credit for trying some cool visuals here. Now, that being said, it being the bloodiest or goriest, no, not even close. Hell, the Clayton Crane X-Force from right before Uncanny X-Force was far more bloody and brutal than this was.
You don't think it earned its TV MA rating?
I'd say it's about 90% of the way there, but that's a perfectly respectable number. It is not insulting in any way.
As someone who read Berserker #1 with Ron Garney on art, this thing isn't quite as gory and outrageous as that particular issue, but by Marvel standards, it's certainly up there. There's not a ton of Wolverine in the book doing stuff, and I did kind of enjoy hearing all of his internal monologue about how he let everybody down and he could smell the blood of his son or his daughter and all that kind of stuff. But there is a little bit too much Laura.
Probably 50% of Wolverine's dialogue in this, monologue, both internal and external, because he doesn't actually talk to anybody, is focused on Laura. He is weirdly obsessed with that, especially in a era of X-Men where she comes back literally 2 panels later every time.
I kind of like the idea of just stringing up Wolverine, since you can't kill him.
Yeah,
what am I going to do, kill Wolverine? How about I string him up and murder everyone that he might be close to? And let him experience all of it. Know that it's his fault. It feels like a good thing to put Wolverine through.
Honestly, if he wanted to be interesting, they would have tried to kill Wolverine right then and there. All it is your typical run-of-the-mill supervillain, I'm going to make you watch plot.
I thought the posh Sabertooth reminded me of Triple H from the Blade movie. Blade Trinity, sorry.
Yeah, he did. He reminded me of that, of Triple H in Blade Trinity. And he also reminded me he was a background character from Night at the Roxbury.
I could see that as well. If he had a little martini in his hand or something. Or a poodle with 3 mouths.
Yes, a poodle that has.
Was this a poodle or was it a Shih Tzu?
No, it was a Pomeranian. Is that a vampire Pomeranian? Ryan Reynolds was the best part of that movie.
100%. He's the only thing enjoyable about that movie. Even the Wesley Snipes Blade character doesn't really work there. But we're not talking about that, Doc. We are talking about this comic book. And the stuff that the Sabertooths do, and they basically just take down his family, and there's exciting action piece where Laura's like fighting 2 or 3 Sabertooths at the same time, attack everybody, and it is very violent. I mean, they are chopping stuff left and right.
It is. It's a very violent comic. They're just kind of indiscriminately slaughtering all the people that are being kept in this Antarctica greenhouse thing. I guess Black Tom and Sage are supposed to be controlling it, but they're somehow in some sort of trance. So they're letting all the Sabertooths able to be in there. They kill a lot of kids, because Wolverine was Dadverine up until this point, where he decided to protect a bunch of kids inside the greenhouse and leave X-Force to be the internal security while he did the work on the outside. You see an attempt at anguish on Wolverine, hearing the cries of the slaughtered children inside there. So you know he has to get out.
I don't think it's too far that it's like bloody and violent, but maybe just popping the heads off of kids. One of them, I think it's a real Sabertooth, holds him up and basically just squeezes his head off. Is that Curse that he does that to? There's some similarities, but Curse I normally see is pinker, but this one appears to be red. But he is choking, and maybe Curse turns red when they choke?
I have no idea. Honestly, all those new X-Men, young X-Men characters, I don't give a goddamn shit about.
You didn't care about Beak dying?
No, that's not even Beak. That's like a different chicken guy.
Why would there be more than one chicken guy?
I have no fucking clue, but that does not look like Beak. This guy's more of an actual chicken. Apparently there's also a second chicken boy in the X books.
Is it too far to start popping the heads off of children now? Does that make it too violent? I mean, again, against good taste though, isn't it?
I mean, I guess a little bit.
Marvel Comics is supposed to be a damn family brand.
Yeah, this is a book about slaughter. Wolverine has never been a family brand book. And honestly, who cares? They're NPCs in a book that they're just going to respawn 3 panels later. Who fucking cares?
I never thought you'd be the guy that would be championing on decapitating children.
I never thought I would either, but I'm also the one that anytime the topic of Wolverine and children come up, I am the first one to say, stick all of them on a rocket and shoot them into the sun.
Or perhaps just bring Sabretooth into town and let him start popping heads.
No. They can get resurrected then, or they can heal. You got to throw them into the sun.
Wolverine knows that these kids are being killed, but I think he's more motivated by Laura going 3-on-1. And he's got to take some actions into his own hands. And this is pretty gruesome part. He pops his claws and basically cuts his own hand off at the wrist and then cuts his own feet off at the ankles, because it's made out of adamantium. It's from like a Omega Red from another multiverse had adamantium tentacles or whatever. He's got stumps for arms and legs.
Yep.
No feet or hands or whatever. But he's still able to pop claws out of his stumps.
Well, that's because the claws are kept in the forearm. I've told you that before.
He chops his own feet off. He chops his own hands off. So he's still got his claws. Wolverine can still feel pain.
Yes.
Cutting your own feet off and trying to walk, even if you're, in Alaska and it's snowy, feels like it would be unbearable to actually perform.
We addressed this at the end of the first Saw movie. I feel like that would be an unbearable thing. Wolverine he has enhanced senses. I get the whole trying to muscle through it and everything, but you've lost all 4 of your extremities.
You probably
gallons of blood.
Point. Technically, he should have probably just died. Even with the cold temperature to slow down his heart rate or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he is a mutant, so I guess he could heal his blood. He could just keep making more blood.
Yeah, but those are major arteries that he's severed.
He can probably keep making blood at the rate he's losing it, and then it just keeps getting pumped out. Don't expect me to understand the fucking mechanics on this one, because it doesn't work. The basic biology of this does not work. You lose all 4
You'd have
hands
to practice
and feet.
Learn how to walk without your feet.
Well, yeah, I mean, not only that, but there's no way he's walking. At best, he's crawling.
Well, first he is crawling, but when he gets there, he's kind of hobbling around and starts murdering people again.
Yeah, he starts trying to stump walk, and he kind of looks like the Age of Apocalypse Weapon X Wolverine, where he's just got the one stump instead of one hand, and then at the end of Age of Apocalypse, he pops his claw through that stump. I mean, I get that they did it mostly for the crazy visuals, but it's like they forgot about the mechanics of trying to, I don't know, walk without feet and grab things without hands. There's still a door to get in there.
How long is it going to take him to grow back hands and feet?
Depending on which version of Wolverine this is at this point, he probably could have grown them back by now. And I've seen Wolverine regenerate literal appendages in panels at this point.
And the last thing he says, he gets into the room where Laura was, who had a birthday present for him. He's like, Laura, because he thinks she's dead. Clearly she's not, because she was putting up the best fight of all of them.
Yeah.
But that is his big motivation, is Laura.
There was this pink birthday cake and one wrapped birthday present from way, way, way back in the Larry Hama, Mark Silvestri days of Wolverine's solo book. Sabertooth always showing up on Wolverine's birthday to kill the woman he loved. And now I guess it's some weird thing where he wants to kill Lara. And now it's kind of incesty. And I don't really like that.
Well, on that note, that'll wrap up our comic book review of Wolverine number 42, part 2 of Sabretooth War. I still wish it wasn't an army of Sabertooths, and a vast majority of them actually had heads. They just have these weird robot necks. But for the spectacle that it is, it certainly delivers on the promise of what they say they're going to do. I like Corey Smith quite a bit. I enjoy the book. I'll give it like a 3.75 out of 5, 7.5 out of 10, something like that. I'll recommend it. It's not like a super strong recommend. But if you're looking for something X-Men related, this is one of the better books out there.
This book was probably about a 3-star out of 5. So it's very, very, average at best, which, in this era of X-Men is good. Now, the perplexing part about this rating is that we're somehow only 2 issues into like a 10-part story.
Isn't that weird? That it's long?
Very weird. There is not anything you can do in the next 6 issues.
Because Ben Percy and Victor LaValle are co-writing this. There's not a page or panel in the first 2 issues that makes me think Victor LaValle had anything to do with it. At some point, I think whatever he was doing with Sabertooth is going to overtake the story.
I feel like you're right. And that's when the story is going to go completely off the fucking rails. Not in a fun way, in a Victor LaValle is a terrible fucking writer way. The way that everything else Victor LaValle touches is terrible kind of way. With any luck, Ben Percy is the only one scripting any of these issues. And the only thing the only reason that Victor LaValle's getting any credit here is because he had an outline for the major plot beats that Sabertooth would go through. And then Ben Percy whittled it down to only actual things that anybody would give a shit about and wrote the story himself. If you got an extra $4 and you don't know what to fucking do with it, buy it.
I think it's $5, isn't it?
Oh, well, in that case, don't buy it. At $5, no, do not.
It is $5 because Wolverine is a $5 book at Marvel these days.
Nope, not worth it. Wait another 3 weeks, save the $5 from each of these issues of Wolverine, and buy a nice back issue.
So somebody that everything they touch turns to gold is my good friend Doc here. And obviously we have the unfiltered portion of the conversation regarding CGC as well as the review of Wolverine 42. But we've also got a 2-hour Q&A and a lot more content over on Patreon. If you want the band with the golden touch, that's where you got to go for a lot more content featuring your favorite guest on Thinking Critical, the Doc Man, the Docster.
No, we're not doing that. Instead, I'll just say go over to Patreon because there's a lot of shit that I can't say on YouTube, surprisingly, that I can say over on Patreon.